Hello, I'm Mark Ells, Barnstable's town manager, and this is my town manager update from March 17th through April 6, 2023. On Friday, April 7th, 6 local public safety agencies from the town of Barnstable will be conducting a joint training at Barnstable High School. The Barnstable Police Department, along with the Hyannis, Centerville, Osterville, Marston's Mills Fire Department, Barnstable Fire, West Barnstable Fire, and Katuitt Fire, will be training the first responders on active shooter mass casualty response. There are an estimated 150 total participants, from trainees to instructors and volunteers. There are instructors from other Cape Cod public safety agencies, including Yarmouth, Eastham, Harwich, and Mashpee police departments. The training is broken down into 2 stages. The first stage has the trainees rotating through 4 training stations to include unified command training, rescue task force implementation, casualty collection and contact team movement, and victim extraction. The second part of the training will be 2 scenarios that will test the skills learned in the morning session. This training is part of an ongoing plan to ensure a multi-agency response to such an event. If you have any questions, you can contact our police chief relevant to this scheduled training. We're proceeding with the budget action calendar for FY 2024 as scheduled. The capital budget for FY 2024 and capital plan for FY 2024 through 28 have been submitted to the Town Council, and the first read is scheduled for this evening. Mark Milne, Director of Finance, will provide a summary of the FY 2024 capital plan. Public hearings on the capital improvement plan orders are scheduled to begin at the April 27th, 2023 Town Council meeting. The town manager hearing on proposed changes to fiscal year fees was held on Tuesday, March 21st at 11 a.m. via Zoom. The proposed fees are proposed on the town's website, and comments will be accepted through April 20th, 2023. The school committee voted to recommend the proposed FY 2024 school operating budget last evening as per the budget action calendar. The proposed budget has been submitted to the town manager for inclusion in the proposed FY 2024 town operating budget for submittal and consideration by the town council. Operating budget hearings commence in June of 2023. We have a scheduled workshop later this evening with the Town Council to continue the discussion regarding revenue sources to address the capital costs of implementing the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan. And for more information on our budget, you can go to our town website and access that information. And you can also go into our town's open budget website and get even more detailed information in general on our budgets. Last summer, Barnstable was required to stop beach raking at some of our public beaches after a complaint was received by the Massachusetts Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program regarding endangered species habitat. After further discussions with the state, which have occurred as recently as yesterday, April 5th, and in order to be compliant with the state and federal laws, we need to temporarily discontinue raking at beaches that are designated as endangered species habitat. The beaches that will not be raked during the summer of 2023 are Douses, Calmus, Craigville, Covels, and Forts Beach. We are committed to exploring permitting opportunities for raking these beaches in the future. This will likely involve a beach raking management plan that is reviewed by the state agency for compliance with Endangered Species Act, and will keep our community advised as we progress on this matter. On February 15th of this year, a group of municipal officials met with the Lieutenant Governor on the proposed regulatory changes to Title V and watershed permitting regulations. A second meeting with the Lieutenant Governor and the Department of Environmental Protection was held on March 3rd to continue the discussion regarding comments and concerns expressed to Mass DEP about the proposed regulatory changes. A third meeting was held with the town of Barnstable and Mass DEP staff on March 22nd to discuss specific questions DEP had relevant to the town of Barnstable's comments and questions. Mass DEP was trying to better understand our concerns on the proposed regulations. We do anticipate that Mass DEP will promulgate changes to the regulations in the future, and therefore discussions such as this one with Cape Cod communities are critical, as the proposed changes have significant impacts on Cape Cod properties. Mass DEP's questions focused on how the proposed regulations comport with the town's efforts to implement its approved comprehensive wastewater management plan. We will keep you advised of our progress on this matter. On Friday, March 31st, the Hyannis Golf Course reopened to the public. The clubhouse remains closed as we do repairs to the extensive damage caused by a pipe burst in early February. We've shifted daily operations and the Golf Pro Shop to a temporary trailer located in the parking lot adjacent to the clubhouse, and we currently do not have food and beverage services, but are working diligently to have a consistent operation in place as soon as possible. The Hyannis Youth and Community Center is proud to host a new spring basketball league. The Massachusetts State Police is expanding their very successful Unity Basketball League. The league is designated to increase positive interaction between law enforcement and teens. The league consists of 8 teams representing local Cape Cod high schools. For the next 10 Mondays, games will start at 6:30 p.m., and the gymnasium will be full of local and state police volunteering their time in the continuing effort to make positive impacts with our youth. On Wednesday, April 12th, the Barnstable Youth Commission will be holding a One Love event at Barnstable High School for the sophomore class. The event will focus on educating students about healthy and unhealthy relationships. The goal of the event is to educate and provide students with the tools and resources they need to identify signs of healthy and unhealthy relationships and to bring life-saving prevention education to the community. That concludes my town manager update for today. At this point, I'm going to ask our Director of Planning and Development, Elizabeth Jenkins, to provide us an update on our local comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Town Manager Ells. I am Elizabeth Jenkins, the Director of Planning and Development for the town of Barnstable, here to give an update on our efforts to update the local comprehensive plan. Currently, the Local Comprehensive Planning Committee, along with Planning and Development staff, are undergoing an effort to update the town's existing conditions analysis, as well as draft a vision statement for the next 10 to 20 years for Barnstable, specific to land use, growth, development, and resource protection. In support of those efforts, the Local Comprehensive Planning Committee, or LCPC, and staff put together a community survey to help evaluate strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats in our community. The survey questions that were asked were wide-ranging and touched on things such as land use, transportation, economic development, and housing. The town received a total of 1,585 responses to this survey, and those survey responses were presented to the local comprehensive planning committee at their March 30th meeting, as well as a summary of the results of extensive in-person outreach that was conducted by the town and the LCPC. Tonight, I would like to provide you an overview of those survey results. So just briefly, who took the survey? We had an excellent age distribution in terms of our respondents that roughly correlates with Barnstable demographics. We had slightly more women than men taking the survey. Overwhelmingly, the respondents to our survey were white and non-Hispanic, although we did offer the survey in 3 languages and received over 30 responses in Portuguese. We had a nice mix between those who were employed or retired, and similar to Barnstable's demographics, respondents tended to have bachelor's or graduate degrees. The majority of the respondents were individuals who lived year-round in Barnstable. For those, in terms of village distribution, we saw a nice distribution amongst villages. If you look at this compared to population in villages, it actually shows overrepresentation of folks in Barnstable and Cotuit. So nice job getting the word out on the survey in those 2 villages. For those who did not live in Barnstable, respondents were primarily either seasonal homeowners or worked in Barnstable. It was great to see that for folks who were living year-round in Barnstable, they expected to continue to be doing so in 5 to 10 years. And our survey respondents were mostly homeowners. About 83% of our survey respondents were homeowners, while about 75% of the folks who are living in the town of Barnstable are homeowners, and the majority of survey respondents lived in two-person households. Very nice distribution between how long people lived in Barnstable. If people had moved recently to the town of Barnstable, we saw that they were moving here pretty equally from elsewhere on Cape Cod, another county in Massachusetts, or outside of the state of Massachusetts. So what brings people to Barnstable? Building on those questions, the top 2 responses being job or employment opportunities or personal connections to the town. So here we were asking people to think about the future of Barnstable. We got a pretty even distribution in terms of when we asked the question, in 5 years, what do you think Barnstable will be? But about a third of the respondents said that in 5 years they expect Barnstable to be a better place, and a majority of the survey respondents said that they were satisfied or very satisfied with the overall quality of life in Barnstable. When looking forward into the future, again, a majority answered that they thought that the quality of life in 10 years would be about the same. Again, we asked a number of questions on transportation and mobility. We see that most people are expecting to get around in their car, but we also saw really good response in terms of biking and walking, and folks wanting to have more opportunities in this. You will see walking and walkability as a theme that stands out in these survey results as we go through. We asked a question, what is your opinion about the quality of public infrastructure and services in Barnstable? And for these questions, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the top 5 responses that came out for each one of these questions. So what is the quality of public infrastructure and services in Barnstable? The top 5 responses were fire protection, library services, police protection, beaches, and main roads. As again, people felt had a good quality. And then we're going to flip that around to results that folks were more concerned about. In terms of quality, the concerns in order of response were sidewalks, stormwater, trash service, sewer service, and internet service. We asked questions about really being able to afford to live in the community. 469 survey respondents said they weren't concerned about their ability to afford sort of daily goods and services, but you see here concerns about paying for utilities and paying for health care, with rent and mortgage not far behind. So again, looking at the goal of the survey being to look at its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, we asked folks to respond to what currently threatens quality of life in Barnstable. So top 5 responses in terms of being no threat came out as access to goods and services, availability of employment opportunities, new commercial development, new housing development, lack of access to health care. Then we're going to flip those around as the top 5 things that people identified as a major threat: declining water quality, climate change and sea level rise, traffic speed and congestion, loss of open space, and infrastructure, namely water, sewer, and utilities. In terms of the town's attractiveness, the rankings here were very good. A vast majority of the people, at least 3/4, felt that the town's attractiveness was excellent or good. We asked folks how the addition of new transportation options would affect Barnstable's transportation network. The #1 survey response in this area was more trails and sidewalks would have a positive effect. The second response being more or better public transportation. We asked about communications, and of course, we've since had a much more robust communication survey, but we hear that people are getting their information about the town largely from the internet and social media. Were the top 2 responses. And we asked people if town government was effectively dealing with local issues and concerns. So a number of people didn't know, but for those who responded yes or no, you see about an even split here. So a land use question regarding housing. What kind of future residential development would you like to see in Barnstable in the future? #1 came out on single family homes. The #2 response, obviously this is an option that we should have had in there because it was actually a write-in, but the #2 response to this was more accessory dwelling units. Other options that people would like to see, housing options that people would like to see in Barnstable in the future included housing for older adults, mixed-use developments, and townhomes. What type of non-residential development, so commercial industrial development, would people like to see in Barnstable in the future? #1 overwhelming response to this was more local retail stores and specialty shops, definitely showing the value of shop local in the survey. The next down the list being entertainment, restaurants, agriculture and farming, and fishing and maritime opportunities. So strengths, we asked about Barnstable's strengths and weaknesses, need for improvement. In terms of strength, the top 5 that came out were coastal resources, the community's reputation, the village centers, downtown Hyannis being represented here as a strength, as well as Barnstable's location and accessibility. So if we flip that around to weaknesses, there's walkability, again showing up on top. Interestingly, downtown Hyannis showing up as both a strength and a weakness. Housing costs, town government and services, and commercial and shopping areas, again showing up amongst the weaknesses. So when you even all of those responses out, again, you see the top 2 strengths being village centers, coastal resources, and the top 2 weaknesses being walkability, development, and growth potential. as a weakness. We asked people where they did their shopping. Overwhelmingly, people who live in Barnstable shop in Barnstable. Top responses being big box and small business in Barnstable. And most often, people go to the village of Hyannis to do their shopping. In terms of the overall local comprehensive planning process, what are the top 3 priorities the LCP should focus on improving? The top 5 responses we got to this were improving water quality, sidewalk, trails, and connectivity, a focus on housing, redevelopment of vacant or underutilized properties, and downtown Hyannis. We looked at concerns on, again, a town-wide level and a neighborhood level. We asked folks if there was adequate recreation, parks, or open space in their neighborhood. Overwhelmingly, people said yes, although 414 respondents said no. When we break this down by village, you will see that respondents from Barnstable Village were very satisfied, contrasted with respondents from Hyannis, where 46% of people responded that they were satisfied with the amount of open space in their neighborhood. The biggest threat on a neighborhood level, the top 3 by far were traffic and speeding, the high cost of housing, and water quality concerns. Oop. And then when you break those top 3 threats by village, again, you'll see those themes come through: high cost of housing, traffic speeding, water quality, with some other respondents coming through on a village level. Interestingly, Barnstable Village, you'll see their number 1 concern about their village were vacant buildings, blighted properties that came out. In Osterville, you'll see seasonality came out as a top 3 threat, and in West Barnstable, flooding and coastal erosion. And so we gave plenty of people to elaborate on the survey questions that were in there with open responses. So we tried to summarize those things that people wanted to see more of in the town of Barnstable. Again, accessory dwelling units, this idea of walkability, sidewalk improvements and expansion, approved pedestrian and cyclist safety, and then protection of open space. People thought identification of issues. People thought things that the town needed to address included poor roadway maintenance, high property taxes, litter, overdevelopment, impact of septic systems on water quality, Airbnbs and seasonality, and oversized homes. And I believe that concludes the summary. So again, the local comprehensive planning committee will take these survey responses as well as the responses from the outreach that we did. We spent some time at the last local comprehensive planning committee meeting that happened on March 30th, taking in all of this community input and translating it into that vision for the future of Barnstable. The local comprehensive planning committee did that exercise, drafted a number of vision statements, and at their next meeting, which is scheduled for May 11th, they're going to come back and hopefully put together a comprehensive vision statement for the community to consider. And this vision statement, being important, really will act as a cornerstone for laying out goals, strategies, and actions for the rest of the local comprehensive plan. So if you'd like to spend a little bit more time with these survey results, they are available online at the local comprehensive plan website, barnstablelcp.com, and you can find them together with the meeting materials that were presented to the committee on March 30th in our document library. And I'd just like to conclude as well that there is a draft of the existing conditions report that is published and available for public comment as well. You can also find that on Barnstable LCP under the document library, and there's an opportunity if folks have questions or things we asked or things that didn't seem quite right in that existing conditions report. There is an online form available for community feedback. Again, that will be presented to the local comprehensive planning committee at their May 11th meeting. Thank you.